This is the Harley Davidson Ultra Limited, and it's the top of the range of the Harley Davidson touring models, apart from obviously the CVO, the custom vehicle operations ones. But this is the top of the range, and in this video we're going to give a full and thorough review. Now, I've been riding this bike around for a couple of days. I've given it motorway riding, dual carriageways, country lanes, towns, you name it, I've ridden it. So I can give you a good evaluation of what this bike's to ride as a touring bike.
So with a bike like this, it's inherently important that it's comfortable for the pillion rider, and I can confirm that that is the case. It's a very comfortable place to be on, and we've just gone for a nice long ride just to test out how nice it is, and it's really comfortable. If you compare it to a lower range sort of Softail like the Heritage Classic, which I've been on the back of quite a lot, it's a lot more comfortable, and you can sit back more because you've got this nice back pad. It's like being in an armchair, and that really does enhance your experience, because when you're having to hug the person in front of you, your head's right up against the back of their helmet, and you notice you knock into them when they accelerate, whereas you don't have to worry about that with this bike, which is really good. As always, there's something getting in the way of our audio, so we've got gale force winds as usual, and there's a tractor down the road cutting hedges on all the fields, so I'm sure he's going to be doing that all day, so apologies for that, but we haven't got much choice.
This has the twin-cooled 114 cubic inch engine, and it produces 164 Newton meters of torque at 3000 RPM, but you feel the torque all the way through the rev range, and it's a very easy low revving bike that pulls up hills and overtakes effortlessly. It produces 89 horsepower, which is 66 kilowatts at 5020 RPM, so it's not massively powerful, but bikes like this are all about the torque.
A crucial thing with a bike like this is luggage space, and this rear box has got a lot of space in it. It's got a really nice handle as well actually, but yeah, opening this up, you can fit 2 helmets in it, like so. So if you've got 2 riders and you're going out for the day, you don't have to worry about where you're putting your helmet or taking it around with you. You pop them in the back, closes really nice and easily. You can probably fit a few other bits in there as well with them in there, so that's very good.
Now, before we made this video, I put in the community section of our YouTube page basically some questions that people would like to ask about the bike. So I'll go over those a little bit later in the video. This has a seat height of 740 millimeters. The footboards are a little closer to you than they are on the Street Glide Special, which is also the same sort of chassis touring model as this. So it's a little less stretched out, and also compared to the Heritage Classic touring bike, it's a little less roomy if you're a tall guy. So I'd say the perfect height for this bike would be about 6 foot, 5'11", and above and below that, obviously the further away you get from that ideal height, the slightly worse it will be for you. But as I said, we've got to pull back on the handlebars and the closer board, so you're a little bit more upright than you are on some of the other models.
In this back top box here, you've also got a 12-volt socket, which will come in really handy if you've got an electric tyre pump or anything else that will fit in there. So I mean, if you're going camping, which you probably could be doing with this bike, you could plug in your mattress pump, so something like that. You know, they've got plenty of options for that. That's really handy.
It weighs 416 kilograms with all its fuel and oils and things, which is tremendously heavy, and you feel that weight very much when you're manoeuvring this bike about, shunting about in a car park, trying to push it backwards. You really do feel the weight, and it would benefit certainly from a reverse gear like you have on the Trike or the BMW R18 for instance. Once you're going, however, it's perfectly fine, and it feels very well balanced and very nice to ride. It's not until you have to make a sudden change of direction or movement to get out of the way of an oncoming car or something that you again feel that bit of extra weight.
With the side panniers, you've got plenty more luggage space as well there. They're nice and easy to open. and you can fit loads in there. I mean, that's really good for if you're going away for a while. And also you can put stuff on this top rack here, so you can strap stuff on with a bungee or a rope, and you can fit quite a bit more on top of there as well.
The rake, which is the angle of the steering head, is quite steep. It's 26 degrees, and the trail is 170 millimeters, and the wheelbase is 1625 millimeters. So those dimensions give you a stable ride, but because of the steepness of the forks, it gives you quick steering. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, but it's not quite as stable, I'd say, as the Softails, which mostly have 30-degree rakes, or the Breakout, which has 34, I think. That's more stable. So this is a little bit easier to turn than those.
So basically I'm going to run through the Boom GTS infotainment system that this bike's equipped with. So you've got radio, FM, MW and LW, is it? Radio? Not, it's not got DAB. And you've got voice recognition, so if you've got a Boom Audio intercom, or you can get a Boom Audio helmet which has that already in it from Harley, you can connect it to your bike, connect it to the passenger rider. You can also talk to other people who've got them if you're riding in a group. So you've also got with this bike, you've got 4 speakers. You've got 2 up the front and you've got 2 one either side of the passenger. And this bike's got hands-free mobile, so if you've got your intercom, your headset, if anyone gives you a ring, you can speak to them on your headset through the system, and that's very nice and easy to do. You've also got an SD card flash drive, and you've got MP3, so you can plug your USB MP3 if you've got a USB drive, put some songs on there, plug it in. You can also connect your phone to this bike via Bluetooth, and that way you can use the text-to-speak feature. So if someone sends you a text, the bike will read it out for you. So you don't have to worry about stopping on the side of the road and reading your phone. You can carry on riding and the bike will read it for you, so that's really good. You've also got 2 sockets. You've got one at the front here and you've got one on the left side of the back pad. That's for your intercom if you haven't got a Bluetooth one. And you've also got two little switches here, so you've got a volume up and down for the rear rider if you've got your headset plugged in, and you've got a mode switch as well, so that's a nice little thing to have.
You also have 18-inch wheels on this, and riding along, I would say it feels more confidence inspiring at speed for sustained periods of time than the Street Glide Special, which we rode a week ago. But the dimensions are pretty much the same, the chassis is the same, and everything seems the same, but then it feels different. The difference perhaps is that you've got a fatter, taller front tyre than the other model, and that isn't a low profile tyre, so that gives you a little bit more pliability with the road surface, and with the fairing and what have you. It does feel very stable and confidence inspiring at speed. So if you're bowling down the motorway for long periods of time, I felt that I could just open it up and go a lot faster, and felt perfectly happy to be able to do that. So it is a nice bike to ride at speed. Once you get off the motorway or the freeway and get into the country lanes and the windy stuff, this bike does take the bends very well, and it's easy to steer, less stably so in the corners than the Softails, I'd say. So it's got a quick steering tendency, but it feels perfectly fine.
It comes as standard with heated grips. This is a really nice feature in the winter. If you've ridden without them, you know that when you get to your destination, you've ridden for more than 10 minutes, your hands are frozen and you can barely even pick up a pen. You've got a dial on the left bar end with 6 different settings, and each one's going to be increasingly warm, so that's a nice little feature to have.
You have a 22.7 litre fuel tank, which gives you 37 miles per gallon, which is about 184 mile range on those figures. In the real world, you're probably likely to get a little less than that.
Now we've got a helicopter going over the roof, and still got galeful winds, tractor going past, and they're cutting the hedges. We can't win. The Harley Davidson Ultra Limited starts at £24,695 in black. This is a two-tone colour which costs £27,085. This has got black and River Rock Grey, which is a lovely colour. We really, really like this colour.
You have a very comfortable, soft, wide seat on this, and a huge rear passenger seat with a backrest. As a rider with a passenger on the back, you don't really feel the passenger as much as you do on most motorcycles, to be honest, and it's probably the best riding experience I've had with a passenger of any bike, so that's a very good thing, and Darcy will tell you what it's like obviously as a pillion passenger too. Now this has the typical clunky 6-gear Harley Davidson gearbox. There's nothing wrong with that, but you do feel the gears as they go in. They're not the smoothest gearboxes, but they work perfectly well, and that's just what they're like.
The Ultra Limited's got a 2-into-1-into-2 exhaust, and as standard it doesn't sound great, as with all exhausts. It sounds alright, it's got a nice rumble to it, but there's loads of options for exhaust for this bike. You've got the Screaming Eagle range, you can get slip-ons, you could get a full system. There's hundreds of different options for exhaust, as with any Harley, so that's not really anything you want to worry about as standard.
The mirrors on this are very good. They're the same mirrors as on the Heritage Classic. They look lovely. I could see at least half of the road behind me, not all of it. So if they were a little higher and wider, that would be perfect. But it depends on your height. So if I was a bit shorter, I'd probably see a lot more of the road behind me than I do being my height. The fairing is very good on this. It keeps the wind off your body ever so nicely, and you've got a nice high screen. So it's only the top of your head and your helmet that gets a bit of the air, just enough to get some air into your helmet to keep it ventilated and stop you steaming up. The display on the top, you've got analog dials, which I love. You've got a fuel gauge, you've got the speedometer, the rev counter and a voltmeter, and a little digital display as well to show you the various things you can scroll through from the handlebar as usual. In fact, it's the top of the handlebar on this one. It's got a gear indicator which shows you which gear you're in, which is very hard to see because it's too small. Also you've got these sort of little kind of radiator shrouds here which take the wind off your legs, and there's a little lever here which you can slide along and open up a little vent to get some air into your legs or into the engine if it's very hot. The brakes are very good. You've got a linked brake system, so if you pull the front it works a bit of the rear and vice versa. You've got double discs up front and a single at the rear, so stopping power is very good. Not the best in the world because it's such a heavy bike, but it's more than adequate. The side stand is absolutely dreadful. When you put the stand out, you push it as far as it will go, you lean the bike onto it and you get off. As you get off, it moves forwards about 3 or 4 inches and you think you're going to drop the bike every single time. So if it's on a slight minute slope it will do that, which is very disconcerting with such a heavy bike. And if you do drop a bike like this and you try and save it, the chances are you're going to end up on the floor with the bike. So subscribers' questions. First of all, tyre pressure monitoring system. It's optional in the USA but standard everywhere else, I believe. The range we've already covered, but the range with a trailer or sidecar, obviously that's going to be less because of the extra weight. The size for tall guys, 6 foot's the perfect height. I'm 6'3", it's still okay. Any taller than that, you're going to find it a little bit cramped. Any shorter than that, and you might struggle too. Cornering, much more nimble in the corners than you'd expect for such a big heavy bike. Engine compared to the BMW R18. Both comparing standard engines with standard engines and pipes, the R18 feels like it's got more grunt and it feels more powerful and smoother. Take a different pipe on either bike, they're going to sound lovely, but they both sound subdued in standard form. The R18's got that sort of pull to the left when you blip the throttle, not all the time, only on blips. This obviously doesn't, so that's better in that respect. Wind protection and buffeting. the fairing is very good. It takes the wind off your body nicely, as does this thing with the wind on your legs. It's got a bit of a vent here to let air through, and you can open up the vents here too. Buffeting a little bit on the top of your helmet. I wouldn't perhaps say buffeting, but as in you can feel the wind, but you need a bit of wind in your helmet to keep the circulation of air anyway. So our verdict on the Harley-Davidson Ultra Limited is that it is a very capable touring motorcycle. It's superb on the motorway and for sustained high-speed riding. It's very nimble in the corners. It's superb for two-up riding as well.
Make sure you check out our t-shirts. They're in the carousel below. There's loads of unique designs designed in-house by us, and you know, go on there, have a look. There's plenty to choose from. Don't forget to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Tell us in the comment section below what you think of this bike. Is it the ultimate tourer? And we're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so don't forget to subscribe. 90% of you aren't subscribed, so thank you for the 10% that are, but that you 90%, you're missing out on some good content, so make sure you can subscribe, and that will really help us out.